So, yeah. This was a Discovery Season 4, Episode 1, Kobayashi Maru. It seems to be loosely based on a Star Trek novel from years ago, but also on the Kobayashi Maru test. It's just based on a Star Trek novel. And two of them, actually. It's based on one of the G1 TOS Star Trek novel, and on a later one with the Corps of Engineers, the Vanguard saga as well. So it's one of those. Yeah. So it may not be technically based on those two novels, but they cribbed from them. Probably read the synopsis. That story based on. We have sort of a. It's been 6 or 7 months since the last story, and I'm assuming somewhere around 3190 at this point, late 89, early 90, and they start off down on the planet of the Monarchs, which is funny because it's a direct reference to the Cillian saga and the ship called the Monarch, the TMS Marshal Sportius Jungswan ship that is featured in that series. But these are Monarch aliens, and they vaguely resemble the girl character from Prodigy. They're not, because they're in the Alpha Quadrant, but they look like her. Maybe in 700 years they settled the planet. So they're also kind of ripping off an anime character, the series, with those characters. But thankfully they're not there that long. They're just in the teaser. And they go to give them dilithium, but they refuse it because they mistake the idea of there being a cat, carnivorous or cat queen on the ship as a thing. They mention the cat, which is very silly track. If this was a silly track episode, which I've said about all of Discovery, really, if it was silly track, it would make sense. It's like some of the stuff that's in here is just like, okay, we have Cal. He's there with the other guy on the planet. Cal's with Saru on the planet. They have a meeting in the council chamber. There's a lot of dialogue because they're trying to copy Starship Strange Worlds. And but the beginning scene is all action, and then the third act is all action. So you have, I didn't write it, but yeah, clearly presence was felt on the set. Tilly got promoted because she's our Cillian character. She's silly. She's not our character, but she's totally Silly Kelly, but as a girl. She's on the ship. This is the beginning. She's a lieutenant now, and Tal is an ensign. And Tal is Idira Tal is gender fluid. Story, and although she has this boyfriend that appears out of space, so it makes it seem like she's not really. She's got a boyfriend, but he's a trill being thing. He's the descendant of the Tal character, Javan Tal, from our time period. He's in 2402. Javan Tal is the first officer on the Emmett Till, commanded by Nog, Captain Nog, who's alive in this timeline. And that's what Captain Nog is famous later. He's the first officer, and he is bi, but he's a trill, so he's a black trill guy, and referenced as the character Picard. Javan Tal is his ancestor to Tal from this story. So there's all this weird connections. It's like family. It goes together. So apparently the lady with the Borg thing stuck to her head is no longer crazy. At least as far as we know. And she's got a yellow outfit, mustard outfit, so command rank. The other black girls on the ship, she's also has a yellow one. They have the science is dark blue, and the Asian guy and the other one, or is the one of the other guys is also like that. Culber is strong and he lifts up some debris because he's buffed. He's a doctor. Minor spoilers for the story. It's basically the Kobayashi Maru test, but it's not because it's real. Trapped on the station. It's also similar to that episode from the TNG with Wesley Crusher doing a test on a station. He fails. It's similar to that episode. Yeah, so there's and we have Booker going to the magical planet, the Booker planet, which is also Silly Trek like. We have we have and the whole setup is like, okay, they're gonna rip off Generations. The whole time, this whole scene was like, they're gonna rip off Generations. We're introduced to these new characters. Well, I guess the guy was in the previous season. The kid is like, they're probably never going to be mentioned again. So, yeah, they're going to kill him off. Of course they are. So, Booker escapes. But yeah, so they did the Generations thing. Oh, they were burned to death off screen. Like, okay. So another anomalous threat is affecting the galaxy because Kurtzman, this is space anomalies affecting the galaxy because he's a Silly Trek fan. Yeah. So. But something else is affecting it. Tosses the space station out of orbit. They gotta go rescue the space station. It's turning around. A lot of cool gravity effects and stuff. They filmed in one of those rooms where they turn the room upside down and they went inside, filmed it. That was kind of cool. Just turn things around to make it look like they're on the ceiling because they couldn't literally. Yeah. At one point, Berman is a space pod, and of course we have the half Cardassian, half human president lady who decides to go on the ship, very reminiscent of the Cillian commander characters trying to go on the ship. And she's clearly an archetype of Trump, but pretending to be Hillary, but more smarter than, I would say more like Hillary. But yeah. So there's like this, politics thrown in there that really doesn't fit. It's shoehorned in wrong. When I did it in Strange Worlds, I did it in such a way that it wasn't literally, them. It just reflected them. They're a little ham-fisted, a little too much over the head, on the nose. They have to be subtle about, like, will the politician lie about the test or whatever? Will the politician go here or whatever? They have to be more subtle than they're being. They're being really, really blatant. Also, the commercials were more attuned to like middle-aged people and in the commercials, more similar to more appropriate to this one than they were on a Prodigy, which was interesting. Another universal threat blowing up planets is like, okay, you've done that. You've kind of shit the bed already. You destroyed your continuity, but let's see how it goes. There's enough dialogue and character that says that Kamenard guy's going to come back to the ship. They lose the station captain guy that they found, who looks like Jamie Messi from Pine Hill. And acts kind of like him. He's not. He would be his very much descendant in the 32nd century. Maybe a way in the future, but he's descendant. But yeah, it's clearly what they were thinking of. Messi shows up, so we got Messi in here. Yeah, that's it, Messi. And he goes crazy at one point. He's a spaceman. The interactions were similar to the way the Redditors were describing this. I didn't do any Discovery discussions from the Reddits for my stuff because it's too obvious. It's too easy. Like the early seasons of this were like, I don't need to rip that because it's too easy. But yeah, season 3 was significantly better than the others, but still, universe-ending threat that they got to solve is their typical modus operandi. And it gets a little silly unless it's literally Cillian realm, and they're not really, so they I don't know if they destroyed the Monarch planet in this story. The Monarch ship, one of them in one timeline, the 24-2 timeline, is destroyed. There are no Monarch butterfly aliens in it, though. I don't think. No. Also, it's not really the Kobayashi Maru test because that's a no-win scenario. They do mention it, but maybe it evolved over 800 years. But the original Kobayashi Maru test was, basically the cadets would take the test and basically your ship is in distress. The Kobayashi Maru is a ship, and basically it's a no-win scenario. It's like you can't stop the Klingons from attacking you in the scenario. It's going to destroy your ship, and it ends with you sacrificing the ship of the crew. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. The one that as well, and and then Spock allegedly never took it until now. But yes, but in this version, they kind of make it the station version instead, which is a no-win scenario, and they try to break the no-win scenario, and they address Burnham's hubris via a clearly hitting him over the head hammer thing, like kind of prejudiced a little bit. President lady who is clearly white, and Burnham is black. The dynamic is like, oh my goodness, come on, guys, this is the 21st century. It's like, come on. I know what you're doing, but it doesn't make sense here. I like the Transformers said in the All Transformers Much series. Starscream and Skywarp and one other Transformer were talking about how humans delineate their races by color, and it's ridiculous because you're all the same species. Yeah, it's like, oh yes, Skywarp looks like this and Starscream looks like this, but they're all the same species. No, the Transformers fight each other over tribal lines because Autobots and Decepticons, not over race. Yeah, they're not two different races. They're the same species. They're Transformers. So even they understand that. Also, to turn that on its head, the Skywarp character in one of the episodes of the Mush says that they went to the alleged Cottle election rally, and when he went to the election rally, there were because Cottle is clearly Trump, but yeah, but he's a different character. He's clearly supposed to be, but he president of the world in that timeline. And the gag there was that these white supremacists ran up to this. They were making a fuss, and this giant Skywarp guy who happens to be black Transformer walks up to him and says, "Oh, actually, there was a cop one too. There was a barricade was there too, and he transformed it." And they were like, "Oh shit!" It's like, oh, he's all, "I'm scared. Those white supremacist guys. Made them run because I'm a 45-foot tall robot." But yes, so yeah, it's a little too ham-fisted. They too many things blowing up, debris everywhere. You kind of could tell what was going to happen. Booker does live. Spoilers, but yeah, but apparently his nephew, I guess, was killed in the space battle, like in Generations. Yeah. Okay. Anomaly from space. The thing about Silly Trek and Silly in Space, though, is no one ever dies. No one's truly ever gone. Which Abrams took from us and used in Star Wars movies. No one's ever truly gone. That's from us. So, my contribution to the Star Wars new movies is no one's ever truly gone. Anyway, so